Making a carpet removal tool. William Hovey Smith, 2021. It took me a little while to find out exactly what was going on. And as it turns out, the leak is not from the bathroom bowl, and it's not from the seal around the bottom here. The leak originates at this joint right there. The previous video shows how to replace the supply line pipe and valve. To prevent further damage and having to replace even more of the pressboard and allow this carpet to dry, I need to take the carpet up. Now there is a tack strip along the corner, along the baseboard. And that's what the carpet has been driven into and nailed to. Consequently, I need to take a tool and separate the carpet from the baseboard and start pulling it forward and lapping it up in the middle of the room to allow it to dry and me to be able to get to the problem and actually replace that valve and those sections of pipe. One thing begets another, and I'm going to need to make a tool to drive between my baseboard and that carpet, so I'll be able to push back and actually remove the carpet itself and the tack strip that's in the floor. This is a piece of knife blank material, and what I'm going to do is to forge it and bend it about here so I have a surface I can hammer on, thin this, and then attach a handle so I can use it as a pry bar when I pull up. And we'll get our forge stoked up and the grinder started and start moving some metal a little bit. I've moved the forge to my driveway so I can apply as much heat as I like. I've put me some gross outlines on our metal blank there as to how I think the tool will be, and also got ready for the grinding process itself, including getting me a chilling bucket there. You never know how much you need water until you no longer have any. I've taken the grinding wheel and reduced the profile of the handle considerably, and I'm going to show you how I did it. Although this took a long time, it's fairly precise, and I personally like to do it this way. However, I do use two grinding techniques, and I want to show you those two grinds. And for the next side, we're going to use our small little angle grinder here and see if we can do this cutting away much faster for the bulk of the material, and then use the grinder just for the finishing up process. This is a long longitudinal grind. And then to get this radius, you actually use the wheel itself. The small angle grinder is making this cutout much faster than grinding. And as a matter of fact, you have to really watch it, because you can very quickly let it get away from you and make cuts you don't want. That was a far faster process than doing it all the way on the grinding. So now I have relatively rapid cleanup to do, and I'll be ready to drill some holes for the scales. We can get rid of our protective gear for a little bit. I save these little pieces of cut off steel because I never know when I might need to fashion a barrel wedge for a muzzle loader or make a sight or anything for which a little piece of good metal is what you need. So I hang on to these. You can see the red coals in the middle of the fire. Things are starting to perk up nicely. We're going to see how we're doing. Yeah, I think we can work with that. Our steel has been bent. I preheated the oven a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and put the steel in. Two little blocks on the inside made of ceramic, so that will keep the bottom off of the oven itself. And I turned it off as I loaded it, because if you touch the steel with the heating elements, you can electrocute yourself. So now we're turning it back on, and you can see the oven is coming back to heat now. This is a piece of dried persimmon wood that I gathered yesterday from a tree that was over 200 years old. And this persimmon wood has probably been dead for, 10 years. And I'm going to use it for my knife scales. When you're working natural wood, you never know what's going to happen. I have a carpenter bee in this half that don't want to leave his home. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this part off from my scales and then put this outside so he can do his thing. Our carpenter bee doesn't like it much, but we don't put this outside so he can join his fellows. To give me a more uniform sanding surface, I went ahead and put this on the flatbed sander for a few minutes, and this gives you the beauty of the wood, and this will give me a flat surface. So now I can cut this very irregular surface away and also remove a crack here. The oven has reached desired temperature, and I have a pot of oil on the floor, and we're shortly going to take it out and attempt to quench it. That is just about right. Okay. I need to get that carpet up and my floor drying, so I fear adventures in exotic woods are going to have to wait. I just don't have time to start from scratch. So this is spruce, it's about as soft as you can get, and I'm going to make the handles out of it. Just to show you how fast this cuts compared to the other. This is the last one, and it's going pretty fast. Just be careful what you're doing with your fingers around this blade. We have finished the mechanics of our prototype carpet lifting tool here on our belt sander, or knife machine commonly called. And And we did polish this surface with 200 grit just so we don't mar the baseboard when we lift the carpet. And we also put an edge on it, bevel one side, with the flat side going toward the baseboard and the bevel going toward the carpet side. So we'll be able to hit it and then pry and lift and rake. At least that is the theory. And we shall see how that works in practice. The spruce worked much faster actually on my knife making machine than it did on the grinder. But if all you have is a grinder, guys, you can completely make a knife on a grinder. You don't really need this expensive machine. I'm an author, and most of my books are outdoor books, although I do have a couple of business titles. My newest book is Make Your Own Job. In this book, I advocate that a person start their own little side hustles while they're still employed with someone else. And then, if things go south, you have something that you own to fall back on to bring in revenue. Now, this works as well as for teenagers, as for those who are presently employed, and for senior citizens. On the floor, you can see some obvious rises in the carpet backing material. That's approaching 5 inches, that large hump. We're going to proceed to dig some of this out then. You can see how the carpet tool can drive along the bottom of the composition board and lift sections of the wet material. The tool is, however, too lightweight to use on dry board, and something like a mattock and axe work better, as shown in a later video. For more information on my books, blogs, and other topics, go to www.hoviesmith.com. To find out more about my business books, go to createyourownjobsecurity.com. Make Your Own Job is available from online retailers as an e-book, softcover, or as an audiobook. Soon to be released is an audiobook of my novel, Until Death Do You Part, from listenupaudiobooks.com. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.